Hello, please tell me your name and explain which Woodford arrangement you went into.
Hi, Andy. Yeah, my name's Alison Blinston, and I invested in both the Woodford Equity Income Fund and actually the Woodford Income Focus Fund as well, through Hargreaves Lansdown.
Thanks, Alison. And why have you agreed to have this conversation with me, knowing it's being recorded and will be put out on social media and so on?
Hi, well, yeah, I mean, I feel scammed, really. And I suppose it's a way of trying to deal with that is to talk about it. Yeah, I feel I've been scammed both by the system, by Woodford, by Hargreaves Lansdown, probably by Lee Day as well, actually.
Who is your MP, and can we send a link to the recording of this conversation to him or her?
Sure, it's Mark Spencer, and happy to have that sent, yes.
Why did you choose to invest in a Woodford fund?
Well, I've been a client of Hargreaves Lansdown for a number of years. I've been able to rely on their advice. I did have financial advice from them in the past. I was completely persuaded to invest in Woodford by Hargreaves Lansdown's marketing materials. And that was the case for the Equity Income Fund. And again, for the Income Focus Fund a little bit later, when they were offering a special offer price. So it was their marketing on price, as well as their promotional materials through, the pictures with the cozy chats. I feel quite stupid now saying that, actually, but yeah, it was influential at the time. I believed in Woodford because I believed in Hargreaves Lansdown at that time.
Thank you. So when you invested, what, if anything, was your understanding of your statutory rights and your protections through the Financial Ombudsman Service and the Financial Services Compensation Scheme?
Well, at the time I invested, I had my eyes open not in the sense of being, I suppose, overly persuaded by the marketing, but I knew that I was going into a situation where I could lose, where my investment could go down as well as up. I put my money into an open-ended investment because I wanted to be able to get my money back at any time if the market permitted it. I thought I'd be able to. I never thought that the fund would be gated, which is why I invested into an open-ended fund. But what I did, although I didn't rely on any sort of expectation of compensation if the value of the investment went down, I never expected that rules wouldn't be followed. I never expected that the underlying investments would be illiquid in the way that they were. And I believed that there was protection there from UK regulation. And I believed that Hargreaves Lansdown would be keeping an eye open as to what was going on and would not continue to recommend funds where rules were not being followed. And it seems now that certainly Hargreaves Lansdown knew as early as 2017, from what I've been reading, that things weren't quite what they should have been. Yeah, so I didn't expect to be compensated unless regulation wasn't followed, and then I did expect that the regulators would be doing the job.
Thank you for explaining, Alison. What do you think you would get back through the proposed scheme of arrangements in terms of pence in the pound? And if you know, what do you think you would get back through the Financial Ombudsman Service if you were to make a successful claim to it?
Well, I'm not expecting to get very much back through the scheme of arrangement. I think I'll be lucky to get probably 7 or 8p in the pound back through the scheme of arrangement. And so I voted against it recently, and I'm just amazed that so few people have voted, but perhaps we'll come back to that later. The £85,000 limit, well, my investment actually was nowhere near 85,000, so I would expect that I would get much more back through compensation. But I have complained to the Financial Ombudsman Service about Hargreaves Lansdown's promotion of the Woodford Income Focus Fund. I didn't complain about equity income because I was with Lee Day, but I did complain about the WIF. And I felt I had a very good case. My case was responded to by an investigator. It took 2 years for me to receive a response, which was that they regarded that there was no situation, no case to answer. And my case has now been passed to an ombudsman, which is what I requested. That was last April. I've since heard nothing. So when you say, what would I expect through the financial ombudsman scheme and the 85,000 limit? Actually, I suspect that there's collusion there, collusion with the perpetrator, if you like. So I'm not expecting to get anything back through them either. I don't think they're doing the job. Yeah.
Thank you for explaining. In general terms, how has this matter affected you?
Well, I mean, obviously, there's been an impact financially. I think as far as wife was concerned, I was one of the lucky ones because I'd invested in order that I could draw up the funds to live on over a period of 5 years while I was waiting for my old age pension, which, being the age I am, is coming 6 years later than I had expected it to come. So I was using the money to make up that shortfall, and I'd withdrawn most of it. But the WIF, I still had a decent investment in that. And when the wife was gated, I needed to sell my WIF shares because I just couldn't risk losing any more. And I saw my WIF units at a significant loss. So those a double whammy for me, really, because wife impacted on WIF and I lost in both ways. So it's affected me financially. It's made me very skeptical about investing in the UK. I'd never invest now in anything other than building society investments or major banks. And it's made me, I think, it's made me question now the integrity of the UK political system and the legal system as well. So, you know, here I am, worked all my life, tried to save for my old age, and it now looks as if maybe the legal system and the political system is conspiring with the super wealthy, actually, to ensure that people like me don't get actually what I should have received, which is at least I believe I should have get at least back what I invested because regulation wasn't doing its business. So
what do you think about
disillusioned?
Disillusioned. Thank you. Forgive me for speaking over you there.
All right, no problem.
Alison, what do you think about the way the FCA has handled matters?
I think it's appalling. I think they haven't honoured their obligations, and they now almost seem to be washing their hands of any responsibility. And I'm not happy about the way that the delays and the decision that the Financial Ombudsman has already given to me about that the Financial Ombudsman Service investigator has so far given to me about my investment in WIF through Hargreaves Lansdown and my complaint about Hargreaves Lansdown. So I'm not sure why we have a Financial Conduct Authority. They don't seem to be fit for purpose.
The FCA has made reference to 77p in the pound, and that's something that the press has picked up on. You may or may not have seen coverage about that. Excuse the dog barking in the background, Alison, but let's just ignore that. The postman's on her way. The post lady is on her way.
Okay.
So what, if anything, do you think about this 77p in the pound matter?
Well, I'm not sure where 77p in the pound is coming from. I don't think we'll see anywhere near 77p in the pound. And even if I did, I don't think that's very fair. It's not appropriate. When I eventually signed up to Lee Day, they were talking about pound for pound plus not 77p in the pound. And even if I got my 77p in the pound, I now have to pay 30% of that to Lee Day anyway. So I'll be lucky to see 7p, I think, honestly.
The scheme of arrangement, any further thoughts about that?
I think that the whole process was very confusing. I may be one of the younger people who've invested, and maybe perhaps a little bit more IT literate, but I found it quite difficult the voting process quite difficult. The scheme of arrangement itself, the information that's come out has been very legalistic. It's things seem to have emerged rather than being set out in the first place, such as, for example, that if the vote went in favour, we would lose further redress against the FCA, or for compensation from the FCA. And so, no, I'm not happy with the scheme of arrangement at all. I mean, the sort of compensation that they're talking about, I think, is an insult to people who've been scammed, as I say.
Thank you, Alison. Anything else to say on the voting process, or indeed the outcome of the vote?
Well, I understand that probably only about 15% of those eligible to vote actually voted. I can suggest why that might be, that people were unable to vote. They were confused, that they found that the vote didn't work when they went online, whatever. I found mine worked, but it took me quite a while to sort it out. So the fact that we will possibly, all the investors will be bound by 15% turnover seems very unfair, to say the least. The fact that institutional investors and retail investors weren't treated separately for the purposes of the vote, I think was quite deliberate. The institutional investors actually have no redress. They can't claim against the Financial Services Compensation Scheme. And it would seem to me that institutional investors have therefore skewed the vote, which means that a lot of other ordinary people smaller investors are going to lose out. So the voting process complicated, IT based, a low turnout. Why is there such a low turnout when so many people have lost their life savings? Can't believe that they didn't want to vote. So I just hope that on the 18th of January, the court will listen to what's now being said about the voting process, and will decide that the result is unfair. And that might restore some of my confidence in British justice, perhaps.
Alison's final question, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I hope that the FCA will admit to its regulatory failings and do the right thing. So I think that probably sums it up.
Alison, thank you very much indeed for spending time with me today, sharing your thoughts about this matter. Much appreciated, Alison. Thank you.
Thank you.